This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a great morning. The weather is nice and cool. It's overcast at the moment here by the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park, Sabi Sands. This is Sydney, Fumurani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator. And most of all, welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. For in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. This morning, we have just picked up something very much fresh here, the lion tracks. So I can see that there has been some lions walking around here. Maybe it was early this morning or somewhere last night, because the ground is looking very much fresh, and when it's moisturized, it's difficult to judge the age of these tracks. Everything is just looking pretty fresh. Here they were lying down here. And the tracks here, I just want to check if they're going up here, just to see if maybe we cannot reallocate. Yeah, the tracks are still going up. And here they were lying down here. Oh, we must have to be very much observant here. This is looking fresh. Oh, here's the lions. These are the lions, yeah. Morning Station Sydney is in charge of the lions. Oh, there's Tristan's that side, must. Oh, there's Tristan's already. Tristan's there already. I don't know what to do, but let me show you right here. Tristan's at the back, and I can see now the lions are right here. This is a complicated sighting. This is a complicated sighting. So we can see the lions from this side, and we didn't see that on the background. There's a vehicle going in. You can see there is a Tristan. So it means we're just going to show you and pass by. So we couldn't see very well that they have already been reallocated. So we're just going to show you this male and leave you with Tristan and these lions. So, but we saw a female from the other side. So the male, yeah, this is quite a very beautiful start. You can see how beautiful that male is like. We saw a female from the other side, and this male is, we are only seeing him from this side. So I'm trying to check here where exactly that female was, but I can't see because we saw it somewhere behind the bushes there. Maybe it's already somewhere in front. So maybe this is those lions we have seen yesterday during mating. I just want to try and recognize, but it's difficult. I must have to check very well the features on these lions. You can see that the female is right here. So I'm just gonna pull forward a little bit so that we can have a beautiful sighting. You can see that is a lovely, a beautiful shot of the male just lying down there. So I just want to pull forward a little bit after this male so that we can check the female there. So you can see the female is right there. Oh, she's eating grass. The female is busy having some grass for the breakfast. So you can see there that this female is eating some green grass. So it's normal. The cats, they do eat green grass a lot. So the green grass, the grass juice has got quite a lot of nutrients which helps these animals for growth and also helps to clean the digestive tract. Grass has got quite a lot of vitamins. So that is what this beautiful female lion is doing at the moment. You can hear some of also the alarm calls from the francolins in this area. It looks like these are not only the predator here. So I can see now that the female is moving much more towards where that male is. Maybe if this is that mating pair, we are going to see that the male, I can see that is watching that female all the time. So maybe it's a sign of being protective against this female. Costa, what a great question. The lions, they've got to mate for about 5, 6, sometimes 7 consecutive days. But if you can check, they've got to mate after. Look, there we might see something interesting. Let me just quickly, because I can see she's doing a little bit of a dance there in front of him to show that you can see now. We are going to see the mating now. That was lovely. We were so very lucky to come across these 2 lions feeding at the moment. And apologies for the aerial as I was trying to get the sighting as quick as possible. So I was trying to reverse as quickly as possible so that we can give you the best sightings. I didn't want to miss that. I didn't want to interfere with that kind of a nice sound. So I was answering the question that these lions, they've got to do what we have seen now 4 times an hour. And if you can check, normally, if this is done in full for about 5 to 6 consecutive days, it is going to be more than 250 times. Sometimes is the female interested to convince him for mating. Sometimes you'll see the male himself going to her and ask for mating. So that was so lovely. The mating of the lions is associated with a very interesting ritual where you will hear the growling, you will hear quite a lot of fighting. Males, sometimes they retaliate as well. Sometimes they don't retaliate. So, but what we saw now is that the female is the one who was growling a lot. He also gave a little bit of growl as well. So this is due to the design of the copulatory organ of the male, which has got some spikes. These spikes is the ones which are there in order to kickstart ovulation by this female. So if the female's internal passage copulatory organ is not scratched, there's not going to be ovulation, which means there won't be babies. So you can see that this lion is now grooming himself. He's not worried. Now the female is there. It's just about 100 meters away. Because they have mated now already, he doesn't have a problem. So if you can check here now, you'll find that this male we are seeing now, he is one of the avokas. This is the one with the beautiful eyes. And it's the first time I'm seeing this one mating. The one with the smiley is the one who looks much more aggressive. So maybe you might find that this is his first or his second time of mating, as these avokas are just about 4 years at the moment. And 4 years is when the lions are fully matured, and that is when they start with their first mating activities. Sometimes it can even take them much longer than that. The thing is, mating is determined by the amount of competition in the area. So it's not like if you are a male belonging nearby this territory where the pride is staying, automatically because you are the male, you're going to mate. No, it doesn't work like that. You still have got to come here and challenge others and show your bravery and strength. And if the strengths are weak, you are not going to survive. So Carol, this Unkuhuma female, I must have to look at it very nicely so that we can be able to do some identification here. I've got my identification card with me. You can see here, this is my identification card. So I will have to check amongst all these lions here when I'm looking at the face so that we can be able to ID this female. So whenever there is a nice opportunity to identify the female, I will make a plan. You can see the black tips, the tassels of the tails. These are the instruments for the non-verbal communication. So these lions, they don't only just roar to communicate. If they don't want silently, they can just flick and wave the tails and just follow each other. That is how it works. Sometimes the roar is needed for them in order to advertise themselves in their territory. So now let's quickly cross over to Lauren. Lauren is about to start now. I've also got one of the guests with me, Pat, who will then later on take over the game drive.
Good morning, everybody. It is a chilly morning here in South Africa right now, and I'm kind of regretting bringing my jacket. My name is Lauren, and on camera I do have Mr. Senzo with me today. So yesterday was an interesting day, let me tell you about it. In the morning we really didn't have much sightings, we didn't see anything. The trainees went out for a training drive in the afternoon and we didn't see anything. And obviously at night time the cats came out to play. So I'm really not sure what's in store for us this morning, but I am going to look for hyenas. I don't know if it's Miss Patterson's influence or if it is just me, but I have got a massive soft spot for these hyenas and I've not seen one since being back from leave. So that is the plan for today. And as for the plan for the sunshine, I really hope it comes out because it's really not warm and I am jacketless. So we will continue down Zoe's Road right now looking for them because we're not sure which den the hyenas are at. There is a slight possibility they might have moved, so it's just a case of checking around to see if we can see them. So don't forget to include your comments and questions using that hashtag SafariLive and let us know what you would like to see today. So hyenas do move dens, that's the thing, and we just haven't seen them. No one's spotted them, that's the problem at the minute. So we're gonna keep going straight. Oh, Jocelyn, thank you. You've missed my accent. It's such a strange thing to hear every time, but I'm glad you miss it. It is slightly different from all the other accents, isn't it? Jamie is on the back with me right now and she does say it's a great accent. Thanks, Jamie. Jamie will be taking over later. I'll do the first part of the drive and she will do the last part of the drive. So that's why I need to find the hyenas now. The pressure's on. Whew. I might have to steal Senzo's jacket later. He is rather wrapped up and looking cozy there. But for now, while we are looking for the hyenas, let's go across to Tristan to see what he's doing.
Well, at the moment I'm not quite sure what we're doing. After being pushed out of our lines, we are a little bit kind of at a loss as to where we're going to go. So we'll probably head eastwards and try and go and see if there's any sign of our leopards from last night. But as Lauren probably mentioned, my name's Tristan on camera. I've got Craig this morning, and we were supposed to be out on a walk this morning, but unfortunately Craig has hurt his back quite badly, and so I've got invalid Craig on the back, who is not doing very well this morning, but manfully powering on so that we can bring another feed out to all of you guys so that you can see more of the African wilderness. So hopefully, Craig, you will get better. We're taking it very slow so that we don't hurt his back in any way whatsoever. But like I say, we'll probably head eastwards. We'll try and kind of figure out what we can sort of find on that side. I'm hoping that maybe Hosana, Tandi, Tlalamba, one of them has kind of finished up. You never know, maybe Tingana arrived at some point during the night, so we'll just go and scratch and see what there is. The thing is, though, is it's quite interesting. Yesterday I was very perplexed by the fact that Hosana, full-bellied, had a impala carcass, adult female, that looked quite well eaten, and in a tree where we, should have noticed him way before. It's on a main road, and oh, hello, warthog. There's a warthog coming out of its burrow. You just need Tingana now with this, but no, it's run away. Don't worry, Craig, it ran away. It's okay, sorry. It was a big male warthog, but he didn't want to stick around. And I was perplexed then at also Tandi having this big impala kill that was also so well. No one really noticing it until yesterday. And I was kind of sort of didn't sit well, and actually the whole kind of story, I think, played out later is that wild dogs were seen on Chitwa Air. And that would explain why they're so close. Right, we're going to keep heading east. Hopefully Jigger will stop its nonsense with gremlins. In the meantime, though, back to Sydney.
Apologies for the technical difficulties due to the poor network. Here I'm still with the two mating pair, and I can see the female is now having interest on something. Look at that. You can see that this female is seeing something, and I cannot see where I am, what exactly this female is up to. Oh, I saw one animal passing by at a distance of about, I can see there's some nyalas deep in here, 250 meters away. Maybe somewhere there she might be seeing one of the nyalas deep in there. So we don't want to disturb anything. At the moment, I cannot move where I am, as I don't want to expose them. So maybe there's another nyala which is much more closer to the road where this female is at the moment. Maybe she might be lucky and have something to eat. A cat, they... Lions, when they are mating, their main focus is mating. But remember, these are predators. Predators, they can take whatever opportunity which present itself when they are mating. If any animal come forward when they are mating, they will try and take that animal down. So yes, their priority here is mating. The nyalas, she's just interested because they are predators, and anything moving close by, they get interested. So I can see that she gave up, and let's see what she's going to tell the male. She's coming right towards the direction of the male. She seems having quite a lot of interest on this male. Look, she's wanting him again. Let me go forward. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. hearing the growl of both male and this female, you can see that this female is really on heat as they've just mated now. Normally, it's taking place every 15 minutes or less, and it can last just for a couple of seconds, less than a minute. 7 seconds or more is enough. A child of the universe. So far, I've only met 2 mating, which is this one with the beautiful eyes and more light mane, and the one with the smiley here and the large dark mane. The third one, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might have seen the third one mating as well. Somewhere it was by one of these areas in the reserve before when he was limping. I cannot remember which one was limping between these 3, but the other one, which is much more solitary, I think I've seen him before having a mate. So you must remember that in these avokas, there is these 2 who are always working together. And there's another one coming and going to the cowlation. The one coming and going is the one I'm saying. I think I have seen him mating before. So you can see that this lion, when they're just about Giranda, unfortunately, I am one of those new employees here by Wild Earth. I've just joined Wild Earth by the 1st of July this year, and since I got here, the avokas have been interacting with them. I don't know all their secrets, but everything that took place from by the beginning of July until now, I've witnessed that. These lions are now just about 4 years, and older than 4 years, you can see now they are mating. So this is the cowlation I have seen first when I arrived, and these were the first lion sighting I got. During my first game drive in Juma, I was lucky to find the 3 avokas chasing the leopards. So this was on my introductory game drive. First game drive, avokas. You can see now it's time for him to sleep. But if you look there on his face, you will see that he's got quite a lot of scratches as well, but they are not as much as the other one. The other one with the smiley has been involved on a lot of fightings. So the scratch... chili pepper. Unfortunately, the lions don't have a specific mating season. So the mating of the lions are determined by the level of hormones, which can be at any time of the year. And that is not from the male. The female is the one guiding the mating activities, as she is the one who goes on heat, and the male has to respond through the pheromones in order to detect that she is on heat. And this female, she is not bound in order to mate with just this male alone. If another male comes here when she's still on heat, fight him and chase him out, she is going to mate with the other one. What triggers the mating activities in order to end must be the hormones, because it is believed that the males, why they've got to mate with these females plenty times, is that the male lions have got weak sperms. And because of that, they must have to inject quite a lot of sperms in this female for her to fall pregnant. So it means if the eggs are ready for fertilization, and when he's doing this, I'm sure that is when the female will be ready and filled with quite a lot of sperms, which is then going to fuse and give the offsprings. Don't get surprised, I am going to be joined here by this sighting. There is a vehicle coming. You might hear some engine and some people talking. Nature girl, can you please repeat that question for me? The chances of the female to get pregnant after mating, they are very much high. But the thing is, the number of babies by the lions, sometimes it can be 5, sometimes 3. Sometimes you might find that after these 7 consecutive days, the female is just going to have 1 baby. Just 1. After such a huge responsibility. You can see he's falling asleep. Look, the head is going down. Look at that. You can see that he is falling asleep at the moment. He must be tired because yesterday we left them very far, much more towards Haina Road, not far from the Buffalo's Hook. So this morning they are right at the Vuyotela access next to the Galago Pen. So it has been quite a long distance. During the day, they don't travel long distances. I'm very surprised also at night because yesterday where they were found, it is more or less the same kind of an area I left them 2 days ago. It's good that he is not walking with this female much more towards the Buffalo's Hook, as I'm sure competition can be very high in the other areas. So coming down much more towards this side must be an idea for them in order to avoid a competition. So now let's quickly cross over to Lauren and see how the hyena search is going.
How my hyena search is going? Well, that is a good question. We did just check one old known den off Zoe's Road and no luck. There have been some tracks on the road, so that's what we are looking at. So it's just a case of checking all the other dens now, which is sad because when the hyenas are in one place, you can kind of almost guarantee that you can see them. But now they obviously have vanished and the bush is a lot thicker. So we have double the challenge. But don't worry, we won't give up. There are more other den sites we can check, and that's exactly what we're going to do. It's been a little while since I've seen Corky's cub Plonk or even Pretty's cubs, and I'm really excited to see what kind of size they are now and what they look like. So that is our mission. And there's a lot of termite mounds here that they can use, and there's a lot of areas to check. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep checking all the potential termite mounds and see if they have relocated. Hyenas will relocate if there's a potential threat around, possibly a lion, or if the parasite load gets too much for the den. Eric, that is a really good question, Eric. Is this live? Yes, it is. It's 100% live. We are coming to you right now in real time, and the fact that I just answered your question, I hope proves that to you. And that's how we don't always have animals, because it's real. It's happening now. We're driving, we're on the safari, and we're looking for them. So yes, 100% live. But it's always good to check, just in case it wasn't. So, nicely done, Eric. Linda, no green screens around. Yes, absolutely. Everything's real. And that's why it doesn't always necessarily go to plan. We do get flat tires. We do go into areas where we can't get signal. And sometimes we can't find any animals. So yes, no green screens allowed. Not on SafariLive. Now luckily the morning is still cool. Well, not lucky for me, but it means if the hyenas are around, they could still be at the den and the cubs could still be out. It's when that sun comes up and it starts to get a lot hotter that the animals do tend to disappear a little bit. So luckily it's still a cloudy morning and the sun is definitely not shining through. Oh, hyenas, where are you? Okay, so on to the next den site. And there is even a potential that they could even still be in the original den site. So we're going to continue our search and hopefully have a positive update for you soon. But for now, let's go across to Sydney.
Something very, very interesting has been going on here while you were away. This male has just been mating again just now. So these lions have just mated 3 consecutive times since our arrival. So you can see that this male indeed has got quite a huge responsibility. So the female is looking very tired. And if it's happening like this for about 5 to 6 consecutive days, I'm sure it absorbs quite a lot of energy. Sometimes they forget to eat. But they were very lucky because the male we are seeing here, when the Unkuhumas took down a buffalo by the Chita Dam a few days ago, we saw him feeding. And the other male as well, we saw him with the big bellies. So these lions, they invested quite a lot of energy a day before they started the mating activities. So you can see now it's time for them to rest. So considering the amount of mating so far, I can tell that this afternoon they won't be doing much walking activities around here. So they might just go and lie down somewhere nearby. You see, then he's falling asleep. Rosemary, the possibilities of that, I am not sure if they are there, but yes, the females can be able to mate with different males, which will then consist 1 litter. But when it comes to the babies, I'm not too sure if they can be able to have babies from separate males, but mating can take place involving several males at the same time. And that is a very dangerous exercise because if the female is pregnant from one of the males after the other one has mated and both males maybe consist the babies, you will see chances of the little ones in order to be killed, they are very much high because these animals are so well gifted and they do practice a behavior which is called to infanticize. When they sniff their genes, if they discover this is not their original gene, they are going to kill the babies. And after that, something very, very interesting is going to take place. The males, deliberately, they kill the babies of these females. And the females, when seeing that, they get quite a lot of stress. The stress level by the females, when it's raising high, it kicks the pituitary gland in order to release a lot of estrogen hormone, which will then quickly drive the female back into ostrus for him to introduce his own generation. So these kind of animals, like I said, are so very much well gifted, and all these detection of the genes is a process facilitated by olfactory communication. So through olfactory communication, they are going to know that. From sniffing the genes, they are going to know that. So at the moment I can see the positioning of the female, that this female is looking very much tired. Look at that. But she's the one who is coming to do some dance to convince him for mating. So we might see that again very shortly. When you see the tail switches, then you must know it means now she wants to come back. It's funny to see that after mating, during the ejaculation stage, she's the one again complaining against the male. Charlotte, that is quite a very important question, because that involves the species as a whole. Lions are one of those animals who get quite a lot of problems when it comes to the inbreeding. When the closely related family members are mating, it weakens the genes, and the little ones, they battle in order to adapt with the living conditions, and they die out. It does indeed reduce the heterozygosity and also threatens the species when it comes to extinction. Carol, if these mating activities are successful, fortunately, the female will be given a little bit of a chance in order to recover. And that amount of time is up to 2 years. The females, they can give birth after this time when is after the next 2 years to 2.5 years. That is when she's going to be on ostrus again. So you can see that it's good for these males in order to go and challenge the other prize. Imagine if this is a pair-bonded species and the female has to again go on ostrus after 2 years, 2.5 years. That is quite a lot of time for the male to wait for the female. So now, while we are waiting to see what is going to happen again here, let's quickly cross over to Lauren. She's got a beautiful bird.
So it's not a hyena, but it is something very special. So here we do have a red-crested corhan, and it was making quite a bit of noise earlier. It seems to have quietened down just now, but the noise was incredible. And we did wonder if it was about to do a bit of a display for us. So we're just going to keep an eye on this now and see exactly what it is up to. Now these birds are obviously known as the suicide bird, which is a terrible nickname, but they do a special display in the air where they fly up and then drop almost as if they're falling out of the sky, and then they make a swift landing right at the end before they reach the ground, which is quite amazing actually, that they can able to judge that, and they make the landing look so elegant. as if they weren't just dropping out of the sky a few seconds before. Isn't that lovely? Good morning. Yes, we had a comment that it looks like a mini ostrich. Yes, I guess so. It could possibly look like that. It isn't such a large bird for the noise that just came out of it. So we were just travelling along the road looking at some hyena tracks when we came across this little guy. So it's always worth saying good morning. It's making a call. I'm not sure if you were able to pick that up. Perfect. I think you heard it. I wonder if it's going to do it again. Come on, little guy. Show us what you've got in that voice box of yours. Well, at least you did hear it the one time. It's quite a call. Oh, now he's on cue. He's probably not going to make the noise. But it's completely unmistakable. No, possibly not going to make that noise again. What a wonderful little bird. Okay, so I don't think we're going to get any more vocalizations at the minute from this guy. So for now, we're just going to send you over to Tristan.
Well, I'm not sure if we will get any noise out of it, but what we at least have got is Hosanna, which is good news. He's sitting exactly where we found Kalamba yesterday morning, or evening, should we say, and he's busy sniffing around and trying to kind of see if there's any sign of them still around. There's no sign of the carcass anymore, so I think the carcass unfortunately was lost either to hyenas or to Hosanna's belly, one of the two. But unfortunately he's going to probably go north and deeper into Torchwood once again, which is just the story of our last kind of 2 days. There's a lot of leopards that have kind of unfortunately moved off and gone into the wrong sides, but let's see, maybe he'll come back. Nice to see him though. He's looking fantastic. You can see his belly is full. So we drove past where he had that carcass in the tree. There was a leg still dangling from that tree, so he abandoned that and probably came this way just to come and investigate what was happening. When we left last night, we had obviously waited for Thandi and Kalamba to come south most of the evening, and they were still on the termite mound, and we had a hyena that was starting to make its way towards this area when we left. It was closer to where Hosanna was, but it would eventually have figured out where this carcass was. Now you can see he's going straight north because he's going to basically follow the scent of Thandi and Kalamba, and into Torchwood he's going to go. But he's looking fantastic, isn't he? He's got a nice big belly, he's got his general Hosanna little swagger on him, and that dewlap that's developing quite nicely, and he's looking really good at the moment. In fact, I would say that he's not that much smaller than what Hukumuri is these days. He's definitely got some bulk and size to him at the moment, and so it's nice to see our young boy starting to grow up and get bigger and bigger and bigger. But unfortunately, that's the last glimpse we're going to get of him as he moves off. Now, just now, I believe that the gremlins were attacking when we were talking about what happened with these carcasses and what I was thinking about them. But basically, the carcasses that we had here were 2 adult female impalas, and the proximity of these 2 leopards to kind of hunt them as close as they have, and then also the fact that there was so much eaten off both of those carcasses, yet, you know, the leopards, neither of them had been seen prior to that in the morning, made me think, well, it's very odd that none of us found a fully grown impala carcass with 2 leopards on it right next to the road. And so later in the day, it was said that there were actually wild dogs that were seen on Chitwa airstrip late that evening. So when we just kind of finished our TV show around 7:30, they bumped into them. And I have a funny feeling that both those impalas might have been killed by the dogs, and that our leopards have scavenged off them and actually basically gotten those carcasses, because the amount that was eaten off that impala that Tundi had, as well as the one that Hosana had, and the proximity of them is very similar to what you often see from wild dogs, and the kind of amount of vultures that are around. Vultures very typically, I was remarking on it yesterday, very typically don't actually follow leopards around too much, and certainly don't land at leopard carcasses all that often, unless, of course, it's lying right out in the open, which it wasn't. And so I have a funny feeling it was the dogs, and they were feeding, and the vultures arrived, and the leopards actually followed the vultures in, and they got what they needed. But you can see Hosana's just sitting kind of in the thicket, still just kind of peering off into where we last saw Tlalamba, funny enough. Tundi was a little bit more to the kind of right, but this is where we last saw Tlalamba. I'm going to try to see if I can get a better view of them. Let's just go forward slightly. I do apologize if there's any breakup. Jigger is being an absolute nightmare this morning, and so we're going to just might break up a little bit. If I'm sure we've fallen over things at the moment. There he is, just behind the bush willow. I'm just also, while we're sitting here scanning around, just see any signs around, but there's no sign of them on the mound that they were using yesterday, and so I suspect they've just gone further north back into Torchwood. That's why Hosana is looking in that direction. He's probably sniffed and scented and smelt Tundi and Tlalamba in this area, and he's decided that, you know, he's going to be able to kind of and figure out. He'll recognize that scent. We know that they've been seen together a few times, and so we'll recognize the scent and kind of be able to figure out who it is. But he's striding off towards the exact termite mound where these two were sitting last night. He's going to follow their scent, and that might take him out of our field of view, unfortunately. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping he kind of sits around there and thinks, nah, they've gone quite far, and comes back to where we are. The chances of that is probably quite slim. Hosana, why are you playing hard to get at the moment? I suppose we still have a nice view of him anyway. It's not that bad. Right, now it sounds like the gremlins are still giving us a hard time, and so while we try and figure it out, let's send you back across to Sydney.
You can see there that another couple has just arrived. We have got the 2 Cape turtle doves now right in front of the lions, walking close to each other. These ones, they are partners for life. The Cape turtle doves, they are monogamous, so they are unlike these lions here. You can see they are now foraging right in front of the lions. Sometimes they can tend to become an easy prey for these big cats. So there's something very much interesting about the doves. You know, doves are amongst those kind of birds which can be able to produce milk. You know, the doves, they don't have mammary glands, but I know they produce milk from the crop. They have got a crop here on the side of the neck, whereby they break down the epithelial cells of the inner layer of that. After that, they are going to regurgitate milk, and that milk is rich in terms of the fat content than a cow milk, a bird milk. This is so interesting. So when these birds are producing the milk, they suspend eating because they don't want to contaminate the milk, as the the diet they concentrate on is consisted of hard materials, and when the little ones are still young, cannot be able to digest the seeds or the particles that are coming from the seeds. So they suspend eating for about a week or two in order to feed their babies. You can see now that the male unbelievable. Nature is just something else. So you will see, in order to avoid eating the hard materials, the birds, when the little ones are still young, they even eat droppings of their little ones because it's still very much soft and doesn't have hard materials. Firefly, the lions in a pride. Sometimes it does happen like now, whereby you find the females going on ostrich at the same time. Sometimes you find that none of them is on ostrich for quite a while. Yes, sometimes you might find that some of these lions from a pride are not mating, but that does not mean they're not gonna mate. At the right time, when they are 2 years and above, that is when they're going to start mating. Both male and females, they mate when they are older than 2 years. But males get kicked off from the prides when they're about 18 to 22 months to go and join the coalitions. A coalition is just a group of males together. It's more like a bachelor head. So females, they stay in prides. A child of the universe, in their lifetime, I'm not too sure when it comes to the number of little ones they can have. But if we can check, as I have indicated, the survival chance of the lions, they are very much low. And as I indicated, the males, they have got quite a lot of weak sperms. And it's not every time that the female is going to litter a lot of babies. You will see one, sometimes two. And if we can calculate after every 2 years, if the female is going on ostrich, and see lions, they can survive up to 13 to 17 years. So if we can try to estimate after every 2 years, and let's say give them 5 litre at a time, you will see that they can have quite a lot of babies during their lifetime. So you can see now that because of mating, after a very short period, they are all exhausted now. But maybe at any time, they might show us some more actions. You can see the beautiful mane. So the females, for them to mate with these males, they prefer the males with very beautiful manes, like what we are seeing now. Unless the male has got the mane which is not beautiful, but a lot of strength, because that is what determines this the most. Yes, the mane is there in order to exaggerate the body of the male to look beautiful and also to threaten the intruders. But at the end, he must have to display his strength, which will then convince the female when he is involved on some of the fightings. So the fightings amongst the lions can be so vicious. Sometimes they can kill each other and they injure each other so badly. When there's a female on hit, you must know that it can be dangerous. They can even tend to be aggressive towards the vehicles. So if you look at this male in front of us, about 4 years. Considering the size, you can see that he's still going to grow big as they're going to reach 13 years and above. So this is too big for a 4 years. Here's a too big body size for a 4 years lion, 4 years old lion. So you can see that here he is sleeping, but he's not sleeping completely like the female. The female is the one who is now in a deep sleep. She hasn't moved since she has been positioning herself like that for the past 15, 20 minutes. So now let's quickly cross over to Lauren. She is now just by the hyena den.
I have indeed reached the hyena den, or one of them, and there is no hyenas. So you can see we're just giving you a closer view of the sort of entrance hole, if you like, the doorway, where the little cubs normally pop in and out. And it has been rainy, so the ground is obviously damp, and we don't see any sort of fresh track marks around here, or scrape marks, or any sign of movement. So it's very frustrating to think where on earth this clan could be. Now, as we were coming into the area, not here, further back, there was track marks. So there definitely has been a hyena wandering around, if not more than one. But sadly, they're not here. And this was such a beautiful little home for them, this termite mound. I really liked this one. I didn't catch the name, but after Corky was attacked by the male lion, the Avoca male, quite some time ago now, they actually didn't relocate for some time. They stayed in the Philemon's Dip den. They did actually move after that, but it was a few weeks after that. It wasn't right after the lion attack. So that's not necessarily the reason that they moved dens. The most common reason is that parasite load and all sorts of things can build up in the dens. They probably get a little bit smelly too. So then they move on to a fresher den. And then they can go back again. So I personally don't believe they moved because of that Avoca attack on Corky. But on that note, we are going to move. Alrighty, so while we're moving out of this tricky area, we are going to send you across to Hosanna.
Sitting on top of it, apologize if any issues with our picture. We're trying to kind of brave it and at least give you some views of Hosanna, because Jigger is just being full of nonsense. This is the only spot that we can actually see him from, so if there's a bit of breakup in the picture, do apologize quite a bit. But you can see he's just sitting on the exact mound where Tandy was last night. He's been sniffing around. He even has now urinated on that mound, which is interesting behavior. It's almost as though he's scent marking on top of where the two of them have been, as if to send a message to say he's, you know, part of this whole system. And I'm surprised that his son is taken after him and is beating him to the punch at carcasses. And so maybe Tinga occupied with a meal of his own somewhere else. But I don't think we're going to see Hosanna too much longer. Unfortunately, he's going to probably, in all likelihood, just end up disappearing over that mound at some point. Sit exactly as he said, to be honest. Right, now I believe our gremlins are unfortunately too bad, so we're probably going to just leave this and go back home and try and sort them out. So while we do that, back to Sydney.
So the lions this side are still pretty much relaxed. You can see the male is checking the surrounding here. He is so very much protective, I'm sure, at this stage. So if any of the male lions present himself here, a tremendous battle is going to take place. I've seen the lions fighting for a female before. It can be very much dangerous. Fortunately, I was on a game drive, not on a guided walk. So considering the fact that these lions are not doing anything at the moment, I am now thinking about to go around the southern side of the quarantine treehouse dam area just to check if we cannot find anything interesting and come back here for these lions later on. When they're mating, I don't think they will be able to disappear. And there's too many vehicles here as well enjoying this sighting. So now I'm just going to pull out and see if I can find you something interesting. So I'm very sure that we're still going to find them here at more or less the same place. Maybe we'll mark with any of the other predators or any other interesting animals. There's quite a lot of interesting animals in the reserve. So the lions are just a bonus. So I haven't seen the buffaloes for quite... And I've seen the buffaloes are coming here at night and move away to the buffalo. So there's tracks of the buffalo showing that they are crossing here at night. Thank you very, very much for all the positive comments. I just want to try and check the southern side because while we were in that sighting, there were some of the alarm calls of the impalas and some of the francolins this side. But we're not sure because now impalas are starting to collect the females and they're starting to chase each other, making some of the calls which are much more related to their warning calls. So we are going to get misled a lot these days by the impalas ratting. So now let's quickly cross over back to Osano.
Well, we are still with Osano. We've managed to figure out some signs of things, and so quite nice that we have and that we're able to kind of at least get some view of it. Now I do need to just talk to somebody on the radio quickly. Station on Gary Main, come in. So just need to let the guys know that he is sitting here. Station on Gary Main, Mulawanini, come in. Oh, they're not listening to me, so then they can just suffer and not know about him. I'm sure they'll see me here and then they'll come past, so I'll wait for them to head in this area and tell them verbally. But anyway, he's sitting exactly how Tundi was sitting when we left last night. This is the exact same kind of positioning that they were in. He's kind of just gazing out towards the north as though he's expecting the two of them to appear once again, and he seems very kind of casual about life and is taking it super easy at this stage, and he's kind of, I suppose, what would you call it, resting and digesting that full belly that he's got. And oh, there we go, he's now getting comfy for the day. I think he's decided this is where he's going to rest. The thing is that the sun is starting to come out now and it's going to get quite warm quite quickly, and so I don't think he's going to be able to stay there for too long. I think he's going to have, unfortunately, a situation where he's going to get quite hot quite quickly, and then you might find he's going to come down and he's going to be able to find some shade where he'll sort of rest and have a little nap. But essentially his kind of day, I think, is pretty much done in terms of exploring. I don't think he's going to, unfortunately, get too much out of today. Now it just goes to show you the camouflage of these guys. There's a vehicle that's just driven past with a tracker and a guide, and they have both not seen that leopard at all and didn't really want me to talk to them, so they just kind of carried on going past, and well, they've missed out on a leopard. But I suppose it is quite far in. We're lucky that we have a camera that's kind of zoomed in and can show you at least the spots of Hosanna. But if you kind of see it from that angle already, those spots start to blend in and become incredibly difficult to see. And if you come right out to where we're sitting, you can see it's almost impossible with a kind of camera view. And from where we are at the moment, there really is very little that you'd be able to see of him. And if you drove past now, it'd be impossible. And it makes you think how many times people drive past leopards, even in a reserve like this, where we are able to track, and we've got, footprints that we use, and we've got all a seriously good road network. Often a leopard can be lying, 50 meters from where we are, and be completely invisible to the eye. I mean, if you look at that picture now and you didn't know he was sitting there, it would be quite tricky for you to kind of realize there is a leopard. You can just make out that there's something light on top, and only when you go really deep into it can you kind of see that those are rosettes and a leopard, and be able to kind of tell that there's one there. So exactly. Now, a lot of you apparently are saying you snooze, you lose. And that's very true. If you don't want to stop and be courteous and say hello nicely, well, then that's what happens, I'm afraid. You don't get a leopard and you can just carry on. I tried also to radio them, so I don't feel too guilty about this one. To be honest, I feel like we've given them quite a bit. Now, talking about spots, Craig, if you can come to our dashboard, we've got a beautiful little moth here that is sitting on my dashboard at the moment. So just sitting over here, it's a little kind of white moth that has got tiny little black spots on it, which is quite cool. Obviously, what happens a lot of the time with the cars is they get parked in a garage and there's a light there, and so in the mornings when we come down, we turn the light on, all these moths and insects come flying out towards the car and then land on it. Now, which moth this is, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't actually seen one of these before. It looks a little bit like a kind of moth that we see that's got reds on it, but it's not one of those. It's just sort of white with these little black spots all over it, and tiny little moth. If I put my finger there, you can kind of see the size difference between my index finger and that moth. It's very, very small, but very pretty. It's got this kind of white sort of creamish wing and little furry forehead, and then little legs that come out with the little black spots all over it. It's very, very cool little guy. Now, what you'll find, unfortunately, is these guys will get blown about as we drive, and so probably he's not going to be on this car by the time we finish our drive. But at least we've got a passenger for now that's going to keep us company while Hosanna is naughty and stays on the northern side. He's supposed to be on the southern side so that we can spit and spend time with him. But, he beats to his own kind of tune and does his own things, and so that's okay. The good thing is, though, is that he's not going southwards and out of Chitwa, at least. He's still hanging around in kind of our rough traverse area. And it just goes to show you, it's exactly what we said was going to happen, is during the winter months, he was very confined to the central parts of Djuma. And basically what happened is this cat had figured out very quickly that, one, he was under the protection of Tingana, which means he didn't have to worry about Hukamuri. Two is that he had water, which meant that he had an ability to have prey animals coming in and out all the time, as well as water to drink, given that it was so dry. And so he created this little niche for himself around the kind of camp around Gallagher Pan and Vuyatela Pan. Now that we've got rain, you can see his movements already are starting to shift and change and move out. He's able to find water pretty much everywhere, and food is now a lot more scattered than what it was, and so you're going to see that he's going to range a lot more. We're not going to see him as frequently as what we were during the winter times, and as great as that was, it was just never going to last. I'm afraid we were going to get into a situation where we were eventually going to kind of, unfortunately, see him starting to move a lot more. And if you take Tumba, for example, who's moved all the way down to the western side of the Sabi Sands, Hosanna has stayed a lot more local, and we've been fortunate that we had that period where we saw him as often as we did. And who knows next year if he's going to still be around for us to be able to view him that way. If he is around, I'm sure that same tactic will work once again. He's now figured that out, and that will be a tactic that he'll kind of apply going forward through the winter periods. But whether it's at Djuma is obviously still going to remain to be seen. It largely depends on what Tingana gets up to and whether or not Tingana tolerates him any further and allows him to kind of carry on like this. Right. Now, Hosanna's spotty bum is still sleeping. We'll sit a little bit longer. We'll see if the sun comes up, if he's going to start moving. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to Lauren, who's got something that's not quite as pretty as Hosanna.
Yes, Tristan, it's definitely not as pretty, but it is super interesting. If we take a look at what we have here, we have a huge area of elephant dung. But it's not just dung, it's a huge area of where they have been, looks like, playing. There's little puddles of urination, there's piles of dung, and there's little sort of marks where you can see that the young ones of the herd have been lying down. Now, very possibly they could have been sleeping. The young ones need to get some rest, and all the adults tend to herd around the young ones to protect them while they're on the ground. So this is just a huge area of elephant mess. It's massive. We just encountered it while driving along the road, and you can literally see track marks, scrape marks, and even areas where they've been throwing the mud around, most likely having a little dust bath. So this whole area, which is in the middle of the road, is just full of information about these elephants. Now, it smells very fresh. I'm taking a big inhale in this now just to get that scent, and yes, it's very, very fresh and very earthy. So it would be great if we could spot some ellies this morning. Now, Tristan was mentioning that the movements of animals have changed due to the rain, and actually, it's definitely true. Even the patterns of the elephant's movement, I have noticed, is completely different, and this is obviously most likely due to the fact that there's water everywhere now, puddles everywhere. Water is just overflowing. Yes, Matt, this is dung beetle paradise. I'm not sure if we've spotted any, but yes, there's lots of little animals inside the dung at the minute. Little flies, insects, all sorts of things are in the dung, eating it, hiding in it. It's incredible. So this huge area in the middle of the road is obviously where this elephant herd has just passed by. Would you look at that? Now, elephants obviously drink a lot, and there is a really small water hole next to us. So by drinking a lot, that obviously means that you urinate a lot. And that's what we can see with these yellowish puddles here. So it's been an area of a lot happening for these ellies. And we did sight a herd of ellies here yesterday in a very similar spot to where we are now. So I wonder if we keep going ahead, we might come across them. There's definitely no hiding yourself if you're an ellie. You leave all these wonderful, delicious scents and puddles and piles behind. It's not discreet at all. So we'll continue driving ahead. We just wanted to show you this area, which is just full of elephant mess. So we're going to continue on. Let's see what Sydney is up to.
So at the moment I am doing some trekking here around the Philemon's Deep area towards the tree house. So I'm passing the old hyena den at the moment on my left hand side, trying to see if we cannot be lucky with any of the interesting animals, much more at this side. So I'm checking all the termite mounds. I know these kind of animals, such as leopards, they prefer, specifically Tingana likes to lie down on top of the termite mounds. So they prefer to come down here. I'm sure these days, these kind of leopards, there's no need for them to go and lie down by the dry riverbeds because everywhere is nice and the place is shaded. Quite a lot of trees are recovering now, so they can easily hide here. They can observe from the top of the termite mound and lie down under these trees. I know a lot of viewers are interested a lot on big animals such as the elephants. So the elephants, from the beginning, I have not seen any evidence associated with them in this area. I know when the elephants are around, you'll see the fresh broken branches, a lot of droppings on the road. They don't mind. They will just drop on the road. And elephants are not territorial. So they are home ranges. They can just walk anywhere and everywhere. What are the animals? What is a home range? A home range is a natural distribution area of the animals. Territories takes place within the home ranges. So a home range is like the whole geographical area. So elephants, they just go anywhere and everywhere in these whole geographical locations. So now here you can see I've got a very good, healthy and looking impalas. This is a small bachelor head. I can just see 4 impalas there. There they are running, and they might chase each other, and they might now make the interesting noises such as that is when they are chasing each other with their tails up, showing off the white color underneath, and you will hear them doing that. When you hear that, you must know it's rutting season. So, but now, it's not yet rutting season. They are just doing it in order to display and convince the female so that by May month, they can mate. Now, let's quickly head back to Hosanna.
Indeed, we are still with Hosanna, and he's luckily put his head up so that we can actually see his pretty face. Don't turn away. You are being a little rebel in the last few days. Firstly, you've been difficult to find. Secondly, you haven't been doing the things that you normally do in terms of being a little rock star and kind of showing all his antics, and so he's not allowed to look away. See, now he's giving me the death stare because I was scolding him for being naughty, and he's giving me that naughty child look now, as if to say, you just watch what you say. I'm going to now turn my back and sit in my naughty corner and pretend like I didn't just hear that you said those things about me. Anyway, he's kind of looking around still. I don't think we're going to see him here for too much longer. I suspect that what's going to happen is, like I say, as it gets hotter and the sun comes out, so he's going to get uncomfortable on that mound. He's obviously full. The heat's going to get very kind of it was going to get very hot, and then that means that his body temperature is going to increase very quickly. And so even with panting, when he's in the sun and in the summer months like this, it's not really ideal for them, and you'll find that they'll go into shade. And it's one of the things about cats is that if they as much as panting helps them, they do need shade in order to survive in these excessively hot temperatures, particularly because they have this coat that is covered in fur. You can imagine having that thick fur all over you in 40-degree heat. Or 120 degree Fahrenheit heat, it's not going to be very pleasant at all. And so they need to be able to find shady areas which will just kind of help their body temperature not get too high and therefore dangerous for them. But he's obviously just sitting and taking it easy at the moment, and from up there it will probably be quite a nice view. He'll be able to see quite a lot from up there. And be able to sort of work out what's going on around him. Interestingly enough, all the vultures have now taken off, which just gives you an indication that thermals are starting to take place. It's starting to get much warmer, and as it gets much warmer, so you find that the vultures can take off, and it's a good indication that he's unfortunately going to get a bit obliterated by the sun at some point soon. You can actually see how he's already breathing quite heavily. You can see how his head is rocking back and forth, and so that's just that fullness that he has at the moment. That will be the pressure that pushing up on his lungs, causing him to take much shorter breaths, and also the way that the body works to try and digest all of this huge amount of protein that he's taken on will increase that body temperature on top of that. And so he's already starting to kind of pant a little bit just to try and get that body temperature cooled and to try and sort himself out and get a little bit kind of a better internal temperature in many ways. Now you'll find that there's going to be another vehicle that will join, so he might look around towards us. Hopefully he will. So, Chitty Chatty Meg, animals generally don't get heat stroke in summer, and I'll tell you why. Is because, well, particularly here, is that most of these animals are quite used to the fact that it gets incredibly hot. They'll use shade. Most of them have ways of cooling down, so panting obviously being one in cats, and as long as they've got access to water and shade, generally no, they don't get any sort of heat issues. What does happen though is when you get changes in extreme changes in temperature. So if you find things like little baby impalas and those kind of things, when it's very, very hot and all of a sudden the temperature plummets with a storm and it gets very cold, then you'll find that they sometimes die from that. That extreme change affects them quite heavily, and then vice versa as well. But when they've kind of gotten through that young phase and they've built up a bit of strength and they've built up a bit of immunity, generally no, they're fine. As long as they can find access to water and shade during the hot part of the day, generally they are absolutely fine. The ability to kind of sit in shade and the breeze to blow normally is enough for them to sustain themselves and to not actually get any sort of heat stroke from it. And so much pets at home, most pets, they're absolutely fine as long as they've got shade and water. It's when they get confined into a place where there's no airflow, so something like a car or inside a house where everything is closed up and it's extremely hot, that's when pets will start to kind of really suffer. But for the most part, no, you don't have to worry too much about heat stroke. In the desert areas, if it gets excessively hot and an animal battles to find a camel thorn or something like that where it can get under, then potentially yes, but not in this ecosystem. There's more than enough shade for these cats and various animals to be fine. So, Child of the Universe, you're asking, how does Hosana's size compare to previous male leopards like Kajima and Quarantine? So Kajima, difficult to say. I've never seen him, unfortunately. So it seems like every other member of the SafariLive crew has seen Kajima, except for us, or for me. Craig, have you seen him? Yeah. Craig has even seen him. There we go. So I don't know in terms of his size, but Quarantine also, I've only ever seen him once, so it would be tricky to kind of measure those two for me personally. But what I will say is that we talk about this quite regularly, size and sort of comparisons amongst the different leopards, and it is very tricky to get a size comparison of these animals when they are not next to one another. Your eye deceives you, and you believe things that you think that he's going to be big and strong, and then you kind of see him next to another leopard and you realize that he's still got a lot of growing to do. And it's always the case with Hosana. I often see him and he looks so chunky and bulky. Exactly, look kind of like when you look in the mirror. But he always looks so big and chunky. And then I've seen him with Tingana, and you realize just how far he still has to go in order to become a dominant male leopard. And you kind of lose that perception when you can't kind of measure the two together. So, I always hesitate to kind of make calls on that. What I will say, though, is looking at Hukumuri and looking at him, the size between the two of them is that Hosana is just as bulky as Hukumuri is. He's got a very different, they both have different sort of body builds, if that makes sense. He's a lot stockier as Hosana than what Hukumuri is, particularly in the back end area. The shoulder section, Hukumuri is still quite a big boy and probably edges Hosana still at this stage. But Hosana already has a bigger dewlap than Hukumuri, which is quite funny to me. But anyway, they're very similar in terms of size at the moment than what Tingana and probably even Quarantine. Quarantine looks as though he's seriously looking good. I saw some photos of him recently where he's looking quite bulky. So it's a tricky thing. And in terms of at the same age, I didn't see Quarantine at this age, so I can't really kind of comment on that. Better would be to ask, I suppose nobody was really here for that. Maybe Jamie might have just caught the end of Quarantine, but Scott and Brent were here for most of that period when Quarantine and Kanyuma were around, and unfortunately they're both not with us. So it would be tricky to kind of make that comparison. I will say he's no bigger than a lot of the younger males that I've seen. So I've been fortunate enough to see quite a few different young males from various different females, and Hosana's about the same size as most would be for this age. He is quite squat and quite bulky. I don't think he's going to be a hugely tall leopard. I don't think he's going to be in the same sort of space as what you're going to see somebody like Anderson or even Tingana. I mean, Tingana's massive, 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 but I think he's going to be seriously stocky, and I think that in itself is going to make him very imposing and intimidating when he gets a lot bigger, and hopefully inherits Tingana's shoulders and neck area, and that will kind of keep most males, I would imagine, and so it's going to be seriously interesting to see how the next year plays out, because this is the critical year. Hosana has gone through the kind of baby phase of year 1 and year 2, and year 3 has been so far very good for him in that he's allowed to, well, I say year 3, I mean, it's been ups and downs, but largely his dad hasn't chased him, and he's allowed to kind of been staying in his natal area where he's comfortable. He's clearly surviving incredibly well by being able to hunt and find food. And so this year is going to be that critical phase where he's going to go from a sub-adult leopard into a dominant male, or a male that's searching for territory, and whether that then means that he stays here or he gets pushed out is going to be very intriguing. And I'm really looking forward to the first time we hear him call. I'm hoping we will hear him call here, and hopefully the kind of time frame with Tingana and where he is in his life and where Hosana is will just be perfect enough that Hosana can just kind of slide in and sort of settle down with Dad, and maybe Dad will be kind of under his protection in many respects by the next kind of year. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But anyway, we're going to sit with him a little longer, see if he'll kind of wake up. In the meantime, back to Lauren.
Isn't it interesting to see how this year is going to play out with these spotted cats? I'm very intrigued indeed. So as you can see, we're still driving. We have picked up on some lion tracks that are sending us a little bit around the reserve. So we're going to follow them and see exactly what's happening. There seems to be a lot of lion activity around here lately. So we're not sure exactly which ones we're tracking, but let's wait and see. So don't forget to send in your questions and comments. Although I am just driving, do try to keep it relevant to what we are seeing. We're hearing a lot of lovely bird call, but in terms of actually seeing things, it's just so much trickier than before. And obviously the lions are wandering around, and the mating pairs do tend to walk quite a bit when they're mating, so the groups have probably split up. So I'm intrigued to know exactly whose track marks it is we are following. So we're just going to take this road. Wrong gear. I'm getting my left and rights mixed up today as well. I don't know what's wrong with me. I must have woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I have left and I have other left. Does make things a little bit confusing. Okay, we have a tree up ahead. We shall keep driving.
I would suggest driving slightly around it.
Yes, okay, let me figure out exactly how I'm going to do this.
Going anywhere.
The tree is not going to move. Okay, we're going to go up here and see if we can go around it. Yay! And the tree is perfectly fine. We're all fine. So that's exactly how I do it. Thank you, Luke. Nicely done. Anna Marie is asking which is my favorite of the big cats. Now, I wonder whether you're meaning individuals. Oh, we have another roadblock up ahead. How am I going to navigate this one? Everyone's laughing on the back of me here. Okay, we're going to head off to the right. Yes, Land Rover Olympics indeed, Luke. Okay, so I'm going to... Oh. Okay. Don't worry, I'm going to do this. Ah, easy. There you go. My dad would be so proud. So in terms of cats, I wonder if you're meaning the species or the individual. So I'm going to answer both for you. I think if I had to choose, I would choose the leopards. Now, obviously, they are the prettier ones, but I've been really drawn to the leopards. I've probably met them all by now, and I just think they are just such fascinating animals that are able to just survive on their own. They're completely solitary, and I just find that so fascinating. Not that lions aren't amazing, of course. They obviously live in their prides and coalitions, but I just find the life of a leopard a little bit more enticing for me. Now, my grandmother thinks I'm out here with tigers, so if she is listening, tigers are my favorite. I don't know where she gets that from. In terms of characters, I have to say the leopard that I have spent the most time with is Hosanna. So he probably has my heart. Now, I know you shouldn't choose favourites, but I just happen to have had lots of incredible incidents with that boy. And just like Tristan was saying, I am genuinely intrigued to see how his year is going to play out. There's lots of potential ways it could go with him moving on or him staying and taking over this territory. So I am genuinely intrigued to see how it's going to go for Hosanna. So I hope that answers your question, Anne-Marie, and I did that whilst navigating around trees. Ah, fabulous job, Lauren. Okay, back to task on hand. Dory is asking if the fallen trees were from a storm or elephants. Watch out, Senzo, this one's for you. Oh. Whoa, now that was a real bushwhack. I'm not sure if you saw that one. That was just a branch. Sorry, Senzo, you got a little bit wet there. I'm not sure actually which it could be. The storm the other night was really, really quite bad, the lightning and the thunder. And I don't think it's from elephants, nothing was broken, so it could possibly be from the storm, but I'm actually not sure, so good question. So talking of my favourite cat, I think it's time we go over and see exactly what he's doing.
Indeed. Well, he's woken up a little bit. As you can see now, he's posing beautifully on top of his mound to show everybody just how magnificent he is. He's tired of us all saying that he's been absent and that he hasn't provided anything, and so now he's sniffing about. That probably is all just to do with Dundee. He might give us a little Fleming grimace. It'll be nice if he does. But he's probably just trying to work out exactly what's going on and whether or not... There you go. You see his mouth is open a little bit, so he's just going to kind of be pulling that scent over that organ of Jacobson, work out female, male, is she an estrus, is she dominant, all these kind of things will be factored in. It's pretty amazing what a leopard can actually pick up just from the urine or even the scent of another animal. It amazes me. But he is coming down the mound in our direction. Is he going to come say hello? Come on, boy, come say hello to us. You can see he's gone behind the trees now, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he does. He might just go straight northwards. Come, Hosanna, this side. You can see his shade. That's exactly what he wants. Right, let me just reverse slightly to give Craig that little gap. I'm going to just try and see. I've got to work out exactly where it is. Let's see if that should get us right now. Joe, you say you love his little necklace. I think you and many others. He's got a very pretty kind of spot pattern, and he's quite a nice looking fellow, and especially his little necklace area. He's got that very white chest with that dark black, but I think he's now found himself a nice spot to be able to have a nice rest and just to try and kind of have a little bit of a kind of break and digest all of this food. Now, actually, funny enough, yesterday I forgot to tell everybody that the Nkuhumas were found far into the west, down near a place called Big Dam, which is south of Arathusa and Elephant Plains Cutline. But the good thing about it, and why I'm telling you about the fact that the Nkuhumas were found, is that the Talamati male, the Mangene male, and the Nkuhuma male were all in accompaniment, and they were all there and absolutely fine. So their little run-in with the Evoker the other days, here with that buffalo killer Chitwa, didn't do anything to the boys. The boys apparently are all okay, and it's nice that the Talamati male is joined back up with them once again. It's important for the Nkuhumas and the Nkuhuma male and that Mangene male, if they are to survive, that Talamati male is probably going to be a big part of that, and going to have to really kind of help with looking after them, and they will definitely make that sort of coalition when they do get pushed out a lot stronger if they stay together. If they start to separate and move apart, and just the Mangene and the Nkuhuma, you know, those are both much younger boys. They were not quite physically as strong, and so it will make it a lot easier for them if they have that larger line with them. So really good news that both of those animals, or those three, have joined back with the Pride, and the Pride is all together once again. So I believe a lot of you saying so nice to hear. It is nice to hear. It's always nice when we hear that, you know, prides come together, or animals find each other, and you know, everything is okay. And you always worry a little bit when the males are around and the evokers are around, because that tension is going to get more and more and more, and soon we're going to find that the evokers are not going to tolerate those three boys at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 6 months we see those three splitting off and becoming their own little unit. And a little Hosana, hello boy. I always love it when he gets the curious face, when he's kind of watching as to who's coming in now, what's going on. He's probably thinking maybe there's some sort of meat or something that he can get himself, and that's why he's kind of looking, or maybe he thinks another animal is on its way towards him. But I always laugh when he kind of pops his head up like that with that curious look on his face. He's such a character, this cat, that you can't help but enjoy spending time with him. Isn't he looking good though? You can see his shoulders are starting to get much, much bigger. In fact, it's always funny when a leopard goes through a funny phase, and it's this time, it's sort of 3-4 years old, where their shoulders and their neck get quite big, but they haven't got that dewlap yet, and so it actually makes their head look small on their body. So it doesn't quite look like their head really fits, and then eventually the dewlap starts to come out, and then everything kind of gets a little bit more sort of in proportion. But there's that, just that awkward stage. It's only lasts normally about sort of 6 months that it looks a little bit funny, and then it kind of all settles down and everything sort of goes into shape. It's much like lion cubs and leopard cubs when they're born and their feet look way too big for them. It's a similar kind of thing. And shame, poor Tumba, I see, is at least starting to grow out of his ears a little bit and not have those massive ears like he had at one point, where he looked quite ridiculous at when we first started to see him. His ears were way bigger than the rest of him at that stage, but that's all sorted out. But anyway, I think Hosana is not really going to get up to too much for the rest of the day. I think he's in all likelihood going to have a bit of a nap there. So I'm going to swap out with Oli now, and he's going to carry on for the rest of the drive. In the meantime, though, back you go to Sydney.
I am right here by the Triple M. This is the road which borders us with the southern parts of the other reserves. So now I was trying to check here to see if maybe we can find some elephant tracks, and it looks like elephants are very much quiet, but that is not an issue. I am heading back deep in the central part of the Djuma Game Reserve, where the probabilities of having the elephant sighting are very much high. So we might also get a surprise, as I heard yesterday there was also another unusual leopard in the area which has been spotted. Shidulu, we haven't seen her for quite a long time. We might be lucky with her. Let's just hope for the best. I am driving in the areas where the tracks has been spotted about a few days ago. So I am not seeing the tracks at the moment. Oh, here's the tracks. Let me see what this is. Oh, you can see there's some tracks there. Let me just get off the car. I just want to make sure that David sees the tracks nicely. Just want to get off the car to see if I can see what exactly this animal was. Oh, this one was the hyena. This was the hyena. This one is much more clear. So you can see here, this was the hyena. So you can't see the claws nicely there, but you can see there has been some claws there. And you can see the banana shape of these toes, side toes. Also the lobes there is just 2 lobes. So the hyena has been here, moving that side. The most dangerous part of following the hyenas is that they will confuse you, especially if it's in the morning. Hyenas, they prefer to go for foraging at night. And at night, they can just travel anywhere and everywhere here. So if you're following the tracks, aiming to find the predators in the mornings, is going to be difficult. Because you're going to drive around the whole reserve and you won't be lucky with what you are looking for. During the daytime, when the hyenas are walking in the reserve, I rely on them because I know that something is attracting them. Normally, the blood. After smelling the blood, they can just investigate. So if you find them during the day, it's advisable to follow them because that is when you know this is unusual to see the hyenas walking around during the day. So now let's quickly cross over to Jamie, who is now on a vehicle.
I am on a vehicle. I was actually technically on the vehicle the entire time. It was just that once Lauren slapped Senzo with that branch, I decided she was a danger to herself and to others, and we simply had to get rid of her. So I've left her there, and we are carrying on in the search for the lions. No, I'm joking. Lauren's done a marvelous job, but I simply couldn't resist showing you something. So, actually, this is a terrible spot. Hang on. Sorry, Sens. Let me get you further that way. So, I thought that the lion tracks coming in at Shabam Junction, which is what we've been checking up on, I thought it was the mating pair that Sydney and Tristan found earlier this morning. Now, I'm looking, and I don't think that that's the case. I think that there was a male with them. No, I know there was a male with them, looking at this set of tracks, but there's far too many, obviously, for it to be just one mating pair. Well, we have had 2, but there's cub tracks too. Now I can't see a cub track to show you, but somewhere here there's cub tracks, which makes me think Styx Pride. Although those cubs must be absolutely enormous by now, they're still definitely smaller than the adults. So now we have to figure out where they've gone. These are beautiful tracks. I don't know if we've missed something crossing Weaver's Nest, but we're going to try and figure it out before the end of the sunrise safari. So that's what's happening. That's what's been going on. Lauren was very keen to get to Chitwa Dam. Unfortunately, sorry, Lauren, our plans have changed, as they so often do out here. Now, oh, apparently I haven't told you who I am. That's most unfortunate. My name is Jamie, and this morning Senzo is still on camera, fortunately. I mean, it was a close call. He was about to fall off the car, but it's okay. We've got him. They cut along this path. They're back on the road. Oh, apparently Tristan's telling us that he thinks the Pride is near Sydney's dam. Okay, that's interesting. Let me just have a quick chat to him on the Game Drive radio. You can stick with me. I'll just tell you exactly what he says. Trist. I hope I didn't interrupt someone's conversation. How did we miss something crossing Philemon's cut line? That's what I'd like to know. Or did we assume? which is always a terrible thing to do out here. Did we assume that it was the mating pair? You see, they all walked here, and then they went to Treehouse Dam. Tristan, standing by. Okay, copy. Orbs, do you copy? Orbs, whereabouts that pride? Copy, join you. Thank you very much. Alright, well, as much fun as it would be trying to follow these tracks all the way to where we want or where we think they go, now that we know exactly where they go, we're going to go there. You know what's worrying is that apparently it's in Kahumas. So what I was thinking was a cub track that was about a third smaller than the adults track must then have been one of the littler sub-adults, which I'm quite surprised by because I would have expected their feet to be the same size as the adults. They went off here, they came and drank at Treehouse Dam, and then somehow all of us have missed the fact that they cut straight through the property and all the way north. It's a bit embarrassing. I don't know how we managed that. All of us, not one of us picked up on the fact that there were more lions here. Oh well, it's only a minor setback in the greater scheme of things. Right, which way is going to be quicker? Savages, Zoe's, I think. Okay, I am going to move at the speed of light or something closely approximate to it. We've been playing a lot of musical chairs this morning. Let's go and see who swapped places with Tristan. Our sincerest apologies. Clearly, with all of the switching around, the gremlins decided to attack. So, Goli's just going to troubleshoot whatever's going on there, and we are going to carry on. So, as you can see, I'm traveling at, oh, well, not quite the speed of light. And actually, I don't want to go much faster than this because it's chilly. I don't quite know how Lauren survived without a jacket. I assume it must be the Scottish blood somehow, although she's the brownest skinned Scot I ever did meet, actually. Hello, my boys. Sorry. Let's go slower. Sorry, gentlemen. Got to go see some lions. Got to go see a man about some lions, actually. So we owe Aubrey a thank you for finding them for us. Unfortunately, they are on the other side of the reserve. So it might take me a little while, but I'm not going to stop if I can avoid doing so. Unless it's for something extraordinary, like a hyena den or corky, because I don't know where they've gone. I really don't. And the only way I can think of that we're going to find them is if we... Steenbokkie! Hello, Steenbokkie. Bye-bye, Steenbokkie. I think the only way we're going to find them is if we follow Corky or Pretty. Or actually, any of the adults will do, because the den is the social hub. So, if we get lucky with that. But I really thought we were onto something, because Ntima was around here yesterday. Winton is wondering if there are natural salt deposits that the animals can go to in the winter. There are certain areas, obviously, where the soil is slightly saltier than others, There's no real salt licks here on Djuma, natural salt licks, or areas where they will go and particularly focus on eating dirt. There's some places in the Mulwati where sometimes the elephants might eat a little bit of the dirt, but mostly they'll try and dig and they'll get the minerals through the water. So something called geophagy allows the animals to supplement their mineral and salt intake. Now in the Masai Mara there's something really awesome, which is a natural salt lick. There's a couple of them. There's 2 natural salt licks in the Mara Triangle itself, and the animals congregate there both during the migration and outside of the migration. And mostly they're getting, because there's a lot of water in the Masai Mara, I mean, the rainfall average is enormous. They actually go and they drink the salty water there. It's basically an area where geographically the salts have seeped down over the years into this watery patch, this marshy patch. But what's really cool about that is the relationship that the Mara Triangle have established with the local surrounding communities, because of course historically the Maasai are cattle herders, and they would have been taking their cattle backwards and forwards to those salt licks long before anyone decided that there must be a protected reserve area there. Now that there is, which of course is valuable and necessary, they bring their cows in once every 2 weeks in order to come and enjoy the benefits of the salt lick itself. And that's essential, that a reserve with communities around it, and no reserve operates in a vacuum. Its conservation is very much connected to the people surrounding it. So it's essential that there is a good relationship and a fair relationship. But what's so cool is, even from the air, or just when you're driving, the cats that go through an area, those have been worn down for years and years and years and years, so that they're about two cars width wide, and it's awesome. Okay. Now, it's not very exciting looking at the back of my head. Fortunately, Corley's managed to sort out his issues and he's there to entertain you.
We are still with Hosanna on a different spot. He left the termite mound, he rushed to where the vultures landed. Then he won himself a piece of skin. Then he went straight next to the bushes there. That's where he's busy feeding on the carcass now. These guys don't get full. I think he had a lot of meat yesterday and early this morning, but he still wants to chew. The beautiful spotted cat, and he didn't see or didn't notice that there were a piece of meat next to the road here. He saw the vultures we can see on top there, on top of a tree. 2 of them are on the ground. Then what happened, he rushed there, he saw them, then he rushed there, and then he won himself a carcass. They're sitting nicely there, perching and waiting patiently to get another piece. Going back to Hosanna, he's giving us his back. Doesn't want to show us how he's feeding, while he's using his canasial shear. Shrivet, what a nice question there. Leopards, they do prefer to rest on the ground in most cases, because what they do in trees is to patch their kill to avoid predators. And on the ground, they mostly spend their time there because they nicely camouflage, and sometimes they can feed on the ground. It depends on how big is the carcass. But in most cases, we saw Hosanna feeding on top of a tree, and then Thandi feeding on the ground, because sometimes Thandi, it gets so hard for her to hoist the carcass
because he's a female, and we know females are smaller than the males. So Hosanna prefers to be in the ground, and most of our cats prefer being on the ground, but they only climb trees to spot or to scan the area and then to hoist their carcass. What's happening now here, he won't hoist this carcass because it's a small piece, then he will divide in seconds or in few minutes, so that's why he's feeding on the ground. What a beautiful cat indeed. I wonder which part of the pod is feeding there. Yes, it's so good to see Hosanna has a meal. He has a lot since yesterday, because things were happening last evening, as we saw Tristan with a whole bunch of leopards around. So Hosanna was feeding all over the place. I don't know where Tingana did smell these carcass or not, because it's always around others' carcass. James Richard, I've never seen a leopard hunting, only on the screens, but I've heard that Hosanna, Tingana, Tandy, they're doing something amazing and interesting when hunting. My name is Ollie, and joining me behind the camera is still Craig. And it's so quiet here. I think Tandy and Tlalamba, they left this place for good, because I haven't seen any piece of carcass left, only this piece of meat right here. And Tingana, I haven't seen Tingana for a while now. And it's so weird that he was not around since we had 3 carcasses yesterday. I thought he will come and visit and take over all these carcasses, but nothing. So Tingana got himself a lot of meat since yesterday. He doesn't have to concentrate on what he's feeding, but he has to also listen and scan around the surrounding, because we know the hyenas can smell the carcass or a piece of meat from far. So he needs to be alert at all times. Chiti Chati met. Have Hosanna and Hukumuri have a run yet? I don't know whether I got a question right there. Sorry about that. I've only witnessed that on our roll-ins or on our clips, but I've never seen Hosanna and Hukumuri in the very same area. But I think they might bump on each other someday while when I'm live, maybe, and I hope so. But Hukumuri might bump into Hosanna, because Hukumuri has been spotted around Tingana's territory, which is Hosanna's father's turf. But I think Hukumuri will defeat Hosanna, because Hosanna is still a young cat, 3 years, and Hukumuri is a bigger cat. So Hukumuri is more experienced than Hosanna. And I've seen Hukumuri's face is so rough and full of scratches. And if you compare that face to Hosanna's face, Hosanna has this beautiful, beautiful face. But it won't last for long to have such a pretty face if you're a male leopard, because Hosanna is still young and is supposed to fight for territory, is supposed to be nomadic. Hopefully he won't have such scratches compared to Hukumuri's scratches. You can see the body posture is more relaxed. Yes, some of the viewers said they've witnessed it while Hukumuri chasing Hosanna. Yes, I've seen that before, but only on clips, not live. I would love seeing Hukumuri and Hosanna while in contact, because Hosanna, I think he will stand his ground, but I doubt so because of his age. You can see now he's listening to his surrounding, and you can hear the birds around calling, the woodland kingfisher, a drongo, and a Cape turtle dove. Oh, he's moving again. I think he's finished that piece of meat there. You can see the tongue outside, busy cleaning what is left. I'm sure he enjoyed that. What are you up to, boy? He's looking at the vultures while walking. I think he wants to... Oh, what's happening? I think he's thinking of climbing a tree, and there are a lot of vultures in the tree there. Let me sneak forward, Craigie. Let us sneak forward. Maybe we'll something interesting. Maybe he will climb a tree or something there. Oh. Yes. Let's quickly go to Jamie. She has something interesting.
I've got dogs, I've got doggy dogs. Okay, alright, hold on. We just need to figure out exactly where to go. They're coming this way. Okay, hold on. Hi guys! Thanks, Abel. Dogs! Yeah! Yay! I think it's that big Hamilton's pack, I'm hoping. Sorry about that, we had to race you across because there was it looked like they were going to catch a steenbok. I think they've got something. They haven't come out. Hold on. Let's just listen. Calm down. Can't hear. They were chasing impala in. It's absolute chaos when it's this thick. Let's just go back a little bit. Sorry about that. I might have been slightly preempting the action, but they were running in this direction. Doggies! We'll find them. I know, Brett's going to be very, very jealous. We have to find them first. I was on my way to the lions when I got a call that the dogs were around here. I think they've got something too. They didn't come out. Let's just wait. Aubrey's gone in, so let's just wait for him to... Let's listen for a moment. We should hear them. You got him. You got him. Well done, Sens. Okay, hold on. There's going to be a bit of a bump. Whee! Hey, doggies. Doggies. Look at that. Awesome. They're going straight to... Are there any left here? They're probably coming. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Yay. Puppies. Puppies. Oh, let's go further in. I can smell them. They're having a drink in here. Crafty Stash says, wow, there's a lot of them. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If this is the Hamilton pack, there are 18 of them. Oh, this is so awesome. I haven't seen dogs properly in ages. This is absolutely the coolest thing. Thanks, Orbs. Thanks, William. Very cool. Oh, there's a drainage line here with a little bit of water, and that's what they've gathered to drink. They've obviously had a busy morning already. But this is the thing about wild dogs. It's go, go, go. Oh, here we go, everybody. We're off. There's a good chance they're going to cross west in roughly 2 seconds to Arathusa. Oh, we'll try and stick with them for as long as we can. They're going through this drainage. I'm going to have to turn round. Yay, dogs! Lynn, you say this is a new pack for you. If it is the Hamilton's pack, and I'm pretty certain that it is, I think we're just missing some members. Oh dear. They're going straight towards Arathusa. Hold on. We have to go round and out. All right. Hold on, folks. We're going to get there. I think our quickest way is actually, we're going to have to go around, I'm afraid. Where did Aubrey go? Yeah, quickly to Triple M. I love these cars so much in these moments. Carol, wild dogs do have territories. They are absolutely massive. Wild dogs have both territories and home ranges. Remember that every animal that has a territory has a home range. A home range is the largest area that it covers. And I think it's going to be quickest to just do this. The territory is the part of their home range that they're actively defending at that moment, which can change depending upon resources, depending on the size of their neighbors, packs, anything like that. So they do have territories and they're very territorial. Hold on. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, hold on. We're gonna blow away. I'll get to the ID of the dogs in a sec. Here they come. Okay, cool. So James Richard says that it's not the Hamilton pack, it is the Investec Mbali breakaway pack, which would also make sense. The Hamiltons, the reason I thought it might be the portion of the Hamiltons pack is because they were so close yesterday. They were on Buffelshoek. Did you see them there? Where have they gone? Oh, they're coming back. It's chaos. They're on a boundary road there. Oh, there goes Impala there. Oh, there go the dogs. And they crossed. There they go. Well, that was brief and lovely. I could just see Impala dashing off completely in that direction. There's impala F's. Oh, what was that? That was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious. All right, off you go across to Scully, who apparently has got signal back. It was a brief but lovely view of some dogs.
Oh, Jamie, you are so lucky today with the dogs. It's been a while not seeing them. I'd love to see them someday. We're still with Hosanna, busy cleaning himself because he's been feeding on the carcass. And then he tried following the vultures on top of a tree there, but he wasn't lucky because there's nothing there for him to feed on. So I thought he was going to climb the tree and get himself a vulture there, but he was already been spotted. So he's nice to relax now. On the right hand side of the reserve, earlier on we had a leopard calling, but I'm not sure which leopard is that. It might be Tingana, or it might be some other leopards, I think. Because when there's a new challenger, it doesn't care. Just want to invade the area. Yes, Linda, today is cat and dog day. Unfortunately, we have this spotted cat here, but it's still a beautiful sighting. It's so wonderful to see such species in the wild. He's nice and relaxed there. And I hope that Tingana who was calling and see some action and some interaction between Hosanna and his father. This is magic. Yeah, this sighting is magic. Can hear the hippos making some noise in the background there. We are not far from a water hole, or a dam called Chitwa Dam. He's taking a nap now. That's what he's going to be doing this whole morning, and I think the whole afternoon, because his belly is full. So he will be sleeping the whole day, digesting what he was feeding on, which is flesh. And what they do is they hardly go to water holes and drink when they had a big meal, because they get the moisture from the meat or from the flesh. So it will be difficult, or we won't be lucky to see any activity unless he smells something, maybe another cat or hyenas or a carcass or the vultures spotting something. Then he will rush there. But for now, he will just sit. And sorry about that. There's something like a hat on the screen. We have cars around the sighting. So we are seeing this beautiful species. Oh, here he goes again. This is one of the lazy cats, more especially after feeding. What an interesting question, Cool Breeze. Cool Breeze wants to know, do leopards mate as much as lions? Yes, the mating strategy is more the same. And we know that the leopards, they have a territory, the male ones have a territory that includes the female territories inside their territories. So during the mating season or the mating period, it will last for a couple of days, up to 5 to 6 days. They mate the same. That's what I've noticed. They also go for, in each and every after 20 to 25 minutes, they do mate. So, but the thing is, what I've noticed, they mate consecutively that on that time, like 20 minutes. After 20 minutes they will mate. After 20 minutes they will mate. But it depends on the strength of the male, because the first 2-3 days the male will have power and more energy to mate each and every after 15-20 minutes. But in 4th to 5th to 6th day, that's when this thing changes, because it gets tired. It won't eat as much as it's supposed to be. It won't drink water as it is supposed to be. So I don't think it's a fact that cats, or especially leopards or lions, they mate for 5 days each and every after 20 minutes. I think that happens at the first few days, and then the final days of the mating season, or of the mating time or mating period. That's when it all changes. That's what I've noticed. But the cats we are looking at right now, he still has a long way to have mating rights, because he's still in his father's territory. He won't mate with any of the ladies around this turf unless he finds himself a territory and he fights for that territory. But we've seen him marking territory using spraying urine all over, scratching trees and scratching the ground and rolling himself, and just marking around the bushes. So if it happens that he's reached the time where he's matured enough to mate, he might sneak to these females around here, only if Tingana hasn't noticed that. But I don't think he will do that in Tingana's presence, because Tingana will chase him away. His leg. Taylor wants to know what's the difference size between the snow leopard and our African leopards. I think snow leopards, I haven't read much about it, but I think snow leopards are much smaller than our leopards. Yes, but I'll look that up, and then this after the game drive, and then I'll give a nice answer for that, because what I've noticed, the size difference, our African leopards are much bigger than a snow leopard, and the color difference, you can see the snow leopards are more grayish with black spots and whitish there, and then because of the habitat they prefer to live in. If you're in a bushwalk and not noticing anything that the leopard is around, you might pass this cat because he's well camouflaged there, flat and quiet. You can hear the bush is so quiet, and that's why he's relaxing there and opening his ears wide enough. So for now, let's go and see the other cats, how they're doing with Jamie.
Whew, it's been a bit of a roller coaster morning this morning. The lovely but very brief sighting of the wild dogs, and now we've arrived at our original intended destination, which is with a pile of sleepy Nkuhumas, and by the looks of things, a Mangeni male as well at the back there. I can just see him, his skinny hips still protruding. Shame, little boy. So I've counted 11 different lions for now, but I can't quite see if that's all of them. There's one of the youngsters over there, pink-nosed and white pristine teeth. There we go, perfect example. She showed off for us beautifully there, giving us a demonstration of what a young lion looks like, still with a few spots on her body as well. It's been a bit of a turbulent time for the Nkuhumas. It's going to be fascinating to watch how things play out, as we already spoke about the fact that we don't know what's going to happen with Hosana. We don't really know what's going on with the Nkuhumas either. What's going to happen with the Mangeni dynamic, or the Talamati male? Oh, we can guess. Yes, have a good nose clean. Beautiful. Cool breeze, I know, from running dogs to stationary cats. I basically nearly got whiplash at the transition. It was not a gentle change in pace. We went from one extreme to the absolute other. The only way we could have gone slower than this, I imagine, is if we were filming a giant land snail. But that's wonderful. It's good to catch up with the Nkuhumas. I'm not complaining. Someone's having a jolly good face wash. Joy wants to know why it is that lions sleep so much more than other felines. I think it's a combination of different reasons. One, they're much bigger, so a bigger body requires more in the way of resources, or at least more in the way of energy preservation. Now, with an elephant, they compensate for their massive size by feeding all day. A lion can't do that because they're carnivores and their food doesn't stay still. So they have to approach things in a different way, and that requires massive amounts of energy when they go out hunting. But then, of course, your question was compared to the other big cats. I think it's just because they're that much larger. I also think it's because they feel secure to do so. Being in a pride does provide a certain degree of security. So being a leopard means constantly having to patrol a territory, constantly having to ensure that those boundaries are not crossed, and searching for food and staying uninjured, and acting completely without support, where a lion really has the support of its pride. They do use mammoths amounts of energy though, and I have to say, we talk about the fact that they can sleep for 22 hours a day. So can Hosana, if he's got a full belly and he doesn't have anywhere else to be. Where I've watched the lions in the Mara, let's take the Olololo Pride for example. When those lionesses had little cubs, they were active for 16 hours a day, and they slept for about 8. And I know that because I was spending mammoth amounts of time with them. So it really depends on the circumstances. When food is abundant, then they can afford to sleep. When it isn't, they have to be active. So it's not that they're lazy. Although I think that the increased sense of security of being a top predator also does help to ensure a much better rest. Imagine being what yoga position is that? What would you call that one? Because I'm pretty sure I couldn't do that. In fact, I'm not pretty sure. I know I can't do that. It's called the backwards butt lick, according to Luke in Final Control. Now you need to give it a slightly more dramatic sounding name. Luke's commented that it's part of his standard morning routine. I'm suitably both disgusted and impressed if that were actually true. There we go, there's a variation on it. It's a variation on the pose. You've got to take your right front paw forward and tuck it on top of the left front paw. Oh, now we've gone into the more advanced stage. Okay, you've got to do the other side now, girl. Otherwise, you're going to only be stretched on one side. That's an almost praying crouch. That's a half pray crouch, which has a whole new meaning when you're a lion to the yoga pose, or child's pose. It's half a child's pose is what I was thinking of. Hungry, hungry lions. Shame. Empty bellies. Joy, for now I can only see the one Mangeni male. He's the one on the right at the back there, on the right-hand side of your screen. The other right. That's left. The other right. That's one of the males. That's one of the healthy males. Oh, do you see something I don't? There, Sens. 1, 2, 3, 4 lions there. And then there's 2 at the back, or 3 at the back actually. And then the Mangeni male there, he's not looking terribly healthy. Oh, there's 4 lions at the back. I'll do, once we've sort of spent some time here and once the other vehicles have had a chance to see them, then I'll do a little bit of a drive around and we will do a head count and try and figure out how many we've got here. I counted 11, but I don't think I've got them all. Using each other as a pillow. Standard lion. Sure. So they walked all the way up from Little Gowrie last night. Just repeat the name there for me, Luke. I apologize. Guarov. Guarov wants to know how many sets of teeth a lion will have in their lifetime. It's the same as human beings, so they have 2. They get their little baby teeth, which are needle sharp and actually quite lethal in their own way. Those of you with puppies or kittens, you'll know all about just how sharp those little milk teeth are. And then at around about between 6 months to 9 months, with obviously some falling out later than others, then they will be replaced by the adult teeth that descend from up where they are in the jaw, and they descend down and they sort of push the milk teeth out and away. And for a very brief moment, I remember Shungile, who is not a lion, she was a leopard, or potentially is still a leopard, we don't know what happened to her, but I remember her having double canines. Her milk canines didn't fall out, and her adult ones grew. So she had 2. It was very sweet. And it really feels like that was yesterday, but it really wasn't. So that's the Mangeni there. That's him. Wait. That is him over there. That's him there. You can see that horrible curve to his hip, which means he still hasn't completely regained condition. There we go. Pelvis bones. He doesn't even look like a male, does he, Sens? I keep saying a male and you're looking for a male, but he doesn't look like one. Yeah, you were going to the male. But he's a healthy boy. And the Mangeni male is... I don't know when he's going to get his mane now, or when that's going to grow back. Looking better, though. There's a vast improvement. They're going to take a long time to gain back the condition and to look as lovely as this boy does here. Now, is this is the Talamati boy, correct? Or is this the young and Kuhuma male? Because I haven't seen the young and Kuhuma male since I think it's since I left for Kenya last year. No, not last year. 2 years ago. Oh gosh, it's 2019. So I'm actually not sure who that is. I haven't seen him in so long. You think it's one of the Talamati Sens? I would have guessed that because I would have thought the Nkuhuma male is a bit smaller than that. But it's one of those things when you leave a place for a while, you expect children and animals to stay the same size and you expect them to be the same size when you get back, and they never are, because time doesn't actually stop. Cheers, guys. Alrighty. We're going to wait for a chance to reposition a little bit and move around. Let's go back across to Xoli to tell you some fantastic stories.
We have located another leopard. By looking at the distance, I think it's Kuchaba. I think it's Kuchaba. You know Kuchaba, it's Tandi's daughter. Yes, he's moving, she's moving in the thicket there. So I would love any viewer who might know this cat to spot whether it's Kuchaba or Tandi, because I only saw the back of this leopard. Let me stop a little bit here for Craig. Okay. You're gonna find the cat. Oh, let me quickly sneak forward. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Kuchaba, definitely it's Kuchaba. It's my first time seeing this leopard. Because looking at the body structure, earlier on I thought it's Tandi because I only saw the backside of this leopard. Sniffing around. She's up to something. You can see the size difference between the males and the female. As you compare Tingana and Hosana and this cat, females are way too small than the males. So that's why sometimes they struggle to hoist like big kills, like a big matured impala. They only have to eat it or reduce the size while it's on the ground, then they will then hoist it. So the male ones, they normally hoist the kills straight away because they are powerful more than the females. So I'll try to get you guys a nice spot so that you can all confirm this beautiful cat. Yes, Kim, Kuchaba is such a beautiful cat. It's my first time seeing Kuchaba and I'm so blessed. This is magic. Indeed magic. It's going straight there. So I don't know what she's up to, but okay. Let me give Craigie a gap here. It's a termite mound, I think. You can see there. On your right there. This is magic. Indeed, this is magic. This place is so difficult. You can see the vegetation during winter season and the wet season. It's so difficult. So I'll try and sneak forward. And get a nice sighting for you. Beautiful people. Yes, Yvonne. I'm so thrilled. I'm so happy. This is magic. Yvonne, it's all this cat. Yes, it feels like wow. Oh. You all let me sneak forward. Let me sneak forward a little bit. Let me sneak forward a little bit. Let me sneak forward a little bit. She's sniffing there. I think she can detect something. Can see she's suspecting something here. That's what they do, most especially after the rains. We had rain 2 days ago and yesterday, and early this morning we have a little bit of rain, so that's why they have to go around their territories, around the flanks, and then so that they will remark again, because if they don't do this, one of the cats will come and scent mark there. So they're trying to get the information from the air particles using their Jacobson's organ. Oh, I'm sure you've been walking for a while now. You can see yawning there. This is such beautiful. This is magic. Look at the tail. Check the tail. Check the tail. Before she demarcates, you can see the tail going up, then turn against an object. So I'm trying to relocate. No, this is not Tandi's territory. This is Tandi's, because you know, females, they don't share territories, but they all live under a male's territory. So they have places where they're not supposed to go and the places where they're supposed to go. That's their territory. And I think she looks fat. What's happening? Yeah, I saw some pink nipples there. I think this cat has carbs, because you can see on her belly, underneath on her belly there, you can see it's pink. You can see the nipples. Let me push forward. Let me push forward. At the back. Yes, while I'm relocating for a very good. Let's go.
Ah, the gremlins. They never choose their moments well, do they? But very exciting. Well done to Oli. I still can only count 11 lions, and I cannot see the second Mangeni male. Remember that there were 3, and one was significantly worse than the others. I never actually saw him until right at the end, but there were 2 that were always with the Nkuhumas that I was familiar with, and then there was a third, and he was in terrible condition about 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately I think chances are he didn't make it, but we don't know that for certain. We really don't. Animals can be surprisingly resilient. So I can only see 2. I can only see 1 at the moment, but there's 2 lions that are hidden where I can't quite get to them. The mange is looking 100 times better. I mean, all those pussy open sores that he had on the bald patches, most of those have healed completely. There's a covering of hair now around those bald patches. It's actually astounding. And yes, it's going to take him a while to build back that muscle, because what's happened to him is that even though he's been fed, that disease, or the mites, had such a serious impact on his health that once he'd metabolized all his fat, his body started to break down muscle as well. And that's why his hips in particular look so horribly, horribly bony. Now that will start to improve once this mange is fully cleared up. He's okay. They've done well. You know, the Nkuhumas have actually saved these lions' lives, which is a weird thing to think about, and we don't really know how this came to be that the Mangeni males just joined up with them, and they stuck around even though the lions growled at them all the time. The Nkuhumas growled and made it clear that they weren't really welcome to go and lie down with them as part of the pride in the beginning, but they stuck with them and they allowed them to feed next to them, or at least they got a little bit of the scraps, and as a result at least one Mangeni male has actually survived what looked really serious at one point. Now, where it goes from here, I do not know. Oh, Percy, that's what's weird, is that no, different prides do not get along with each other. Prides are territorial by nature, so they do not tolerate the presence of another pride in their territory. Remember that territories do overlap, so if the Nkuhumas, say, are in the far north of their territory, then the Styx might be in what would be considered to be the northernmost part of their range, but the southernmost part of the Nkuhumas' range. So they do overlap, but it tends to be sex biased. So the females will chase away other females, and males will chase away other males. But where young males are concerned, things get a little bit confusing, because they're not really part of the pride, but the females are not as territorial towards them as they would be towards, say, another group of females. So it all gets a little bit muddied in terms of their dynamics. And I mean, there's no part of me that doesn't believe that the Nkuhumas were stronger than the Mangeni males. Those lions, even though they're males, were so weak. They've got no sign of manes growing. They were so depleted that I really feel that if the lionesses were going to respond badly to them, they could actually have even killed them if they'd wanted to. But they didn't. They growled at them a lot, but they didn't attack them properly. And as for you, mister, I just don't know what's going on with the Telemates. I think they're going to form a coalition. Vic, you wanting to know who controls the Nkuhuma Pride? Is it the Birmingham Boys or the Evokers? At this point, it is safe to say that the Birmingham males have left this area. They've basically abandoned this territory without a fight. They've given it up to the Evoker males, and the Evoker males have now been seen mating with the Nkuhumas for at least 3 or so months. So it's safe to say, in my mind, that the Evokers are now dominant over the area, and therefore at least dominant over the Nkuhuma Pride. It remains to be seen exactly where the Evoker territory is going to settle. I think they will be dominant over the Styx Pride as well as the Telemates. But that really does remain to be seen exactly where they establish their boundaries. At the moment, they seem to be moving largely into Buffelshoek, Djuma, and a little bit south into Chitwa, Little Gowrie, Hoffmans, all of those properties to the south. They haven't pushed to the west much towards Arathusa or Simbambili yet. Doesn't mean they won't. Oh, and Torchwood as well. They spend quite a bit of time in Torchwood. The next weird thing is how tolerant the Evokers have been of the young males that have been wandering around. We've known that the Telemati male, the older Telemati male, was mating with a female in Evoker territory. I've personally seen them feeding with the Nkuhuma Pride, or I've seen one feeding with the Nkuhuma Pride and the Mangeni male and one Telemati male. Now, I have absolutely no idea how that works. I don't know whether because nobody fought them for the territory, they're just being more tolerant, or they're young. I don't know. I don't have an explanation because the animals don't really read the textbook. And each and every single individual takeover is different depending on the circumstances. Martisa wants to know what will happen if the Birmingham males come back and the Nkuhuma females have had cubs with the Evokers. There's a couple of points to raise here. The first of all is that it may take the Nkuhumas some time to conceive. I think they're going to start conceiving around about now. It's been about 3 months that they've been mating with the evokers. So initially when males come in, there is a period of false estrus where the females basically don't fall pregnant in case the other males that have been kicked or that have moved out of the area do come back, or the males that have established themselves prove not to be strong enough. They don't waste resources falling pregnant. But let's say they do fall pregnant and they have cubs, which is now getting to be quite likely. Then the Birmingham males come back. Chances are, with an almost 99% certainty, the Birmingham males will kill those cubs, because they know that even though they've mated with the Nkuhumas in the past, they have not mated with them recently. So male lions, they know which prides they've mated with, they know where they've mated, they know which lionesses they've mated with, and therefore they know which cubs they've fathered. It would be a very useless system if they were unable to know which cubs were theirs and which were not. But there is a slim possibility, perhaps, that they might be a bit confused because they know these lionesses, or that the lionesses might, in the early stages, be able to fool them by mating with them straight away. So let's say there's a lioness with tiny, tiny cubs. If she actually mates with the male that's come in, she might be able to trick him, both a false estrus, into thinking that he's the father. It's unlikely to work, but it does happen. Leopards do the same thing. Crafty Creation says, so lions do adopt other lions, or is it just in this case? It's not just in this case. I have heard of other situations where all of a sudden prides have not quite accepted, but have found themselves in the company of another male, and they've sort of merged with the pride temporarily before forming a coalition with the pride's males and moving off. It wouldn't work if these had been females. So let's say the Shimungwe females, I'm just using them as an example, it's not actually a real life scenario, but there are 2 lionesses known as the Shimungwe females. They were the last of their pride, along with a young male, and at one point were all alone at a terribly young age, actually younger even than the Mangeni males are now. Now let's say it had been them, and they had wandered into the midst of the Nkuhumas and tried to establish themselves. I think they would have been met with a far more hostile reception. So it's more likely to happen with young males. It would not happen with adult males. Oof, I say that. Look at Kipuli. Kipuli basically, in the Mara, moved in with the Sausage Tree Pride until the 2 young males of the Sausage Tree Pride were ready to move away with him and become a coalition with him. I think, personally, I saw it coming. I said they were going to form a coalition, and I said that they were going to stay together, and I think they have. And I think he schemed it that way. I think he planned it, that he would have 2 nice young males, strong males, to join him. Luke is apologizing because apparently Xoli has not got any signal. Don't stress, Luke. I have done many, many, many solo drives in my time. All right, everybody, that's a cue for you to send through questions on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, alternatively in the comments section of YouTube. We've got a lovely conversation going about the dynamics of these lions. If you have just joined us, and you don't know what's going on, this is live. If this were edited and put together, we would have shown you lions hunting, leaping, fighting, and racing through the bush at high speed. As it is, this is live, and lions are doing what they're doing, which gives us and Senzo a wonderful opportunity to show you just how beautiful they are, even when they're prone. Smooth, tawny coats, fluffy white bellies. Radio, you want to know if lions are capable of emotional love towards a mate. The thing is that we don't... Scientists have spent so much time saying, don't anthropomorphize animals, that I think we've missed out on a lot of their emotional elements. However, I don't believe that lions really feel love for a mate. I do believe that lions in a pride really, really love each other. They really do. They feel strong affection, they feel deep concern when there's a pride member missing or when they're separated from their pride. They're always lying together, rubbing heads, and that bond is very important. They're also, remember, all related to each other within a pride. Not counting them in this situation, this is a bit complex, but a basic unit of a pride is a group of females that are related to each other. They really love each other. I believe that males in a coalition also really feel genuine affection for each other. You can see it in the way that they rub heads, and that doesn't mean they don't have to be related to each other. Look at Junior, the previous male from the Nkuhuma Pride. He's got his coalition buddy up to the north and the east of us. They love each other. Do female lions feel love for the dominant males that establish themselves? No, I think they dislike them in the beginning, and they dislike them for a reason. They mean trouble. They mean fighting and aggression and testosterone and potential death for their cubs or for themselves even, if things go wrong. After a while, you start to see that the lionesses get used to dominant males, and they become affectionate towards them as well. And we saw that with the Matimba males. When I first started here, the Matimba males were dominant. The lionesses would often go and rub heads with them. Then the Birmingham males came in, and the lionesses treated them as absolute something that had sort of crawled out of a piece of cheese. They looked down their noses at them, and for good reason, because they were dangerous and aggressive in the beginning, because that's what a takeover entails. Then, as things established themselves, the cubs relaxed. Even actually when the lionesses had cubs, they were quite defensive around the Birmingham males in the beginning. And then they relaxed, and then they started rubbing heads with the Birmingham males. And then, wouldn't you know it, true to form, the no-good males upped and left them. And now they've got a new lot to get used to. I'm not blaming the Birmingham boys before I get 5 nasty private messages. I know they just did what lions do, and I know they had a massive territory, and they couldn't keep all of it contained. I was merely being sardonic. Oh, Carol, I'm laughing because I don't know the answer to that. Carol's actually asking what the age breakdown of the males is in the pride. Okay, the Nkuhuma male, is now 2 and a bit. 2 and a bit? They had them in 2016, right? And he was from... Which litter was he from? Oh goodness, I did know this once upon a time, but it does get really difficult trying to keep track of every animal dynamic. He was from he was born somewhere between July and August, June, July, August of 2016, so he's about 2.5. This male here is around about the same age, the one with his nice fluffy mane. He's around about the same age. And the Mangeni males, I'm not 100% sure. You know, I would put them at around about 2. But because they've been so badly affected by the mange, their development has been slightly stunted. So they haven't really got manes. The word mane and the word mange sound very similar when I say them in a hurry in the course of a sentence. They have not got manes, as in the fluffy things around their heads and their necks. Us South Africans and our vowels, we struggle. So I think they're around about 2. There is an older Talamati male, and I don't know how old he is. It's a bit confusing. I'll try to get on top of it, I promise. I've neglected it. It's my fault. I deserve a slap on the wrist. While I think about how I shall punish myself later, let's go across to Koli, who has found some signal.
Jamie, while you're learning the ages of those lions, I'm busy exchanging the sightings of the spotted cats. This is Hosanna. We're from Kuchaba's sighting. She went through the thicket and the area where we didn't have a good signal, so we decided to turn back and come to this young little chief over here. He will be celebrating his birthday next month. Now he's busy feeding on something. I think it's grass, or he's feeding on some blood, or some blood stains, or some piece of meat over here, because he's been doing this for like a few minutes. Oh, he's scratching now. I'm sure it's so itchy to lie flat on the ground, in the grass, because you can see if a human being can lie flat in the grass, you'll have to scratch yourself after that, because there's some small particles in the grass that they are so itchy. So I think it's because of those things, or because of ticks. You know, like the leopards also have ticks, most especially on their ears and behind their ears. Yes, John, indeed. I think this birthday party for Hosanna is to be planned and organized by the leopard whisperer Tristan, because he's one of the person who's so lucky with cats. I was asking him earlier on before we went live that is he not using any muti to spot leopards, because since he was here he's been seeing these insane sightings of the leopards. More especially yesterday here, I was so shocked to see such a sighting. And he's the one who sees such sightings. And then I think cats, yes, even FC, they're agreeing with me that Tristan is using a little bit of lucky charms or some muti there. I think he's getting some muti outside the camp, because we have some villages around there. You see this guy is sniffing all over the place here. And the sowing we had earlier on, I think it was from Kuchaba. And this guy is not far from the vehicle, it's more relaxed, enjoying the sun that's coming out, because we had a little bit of cold in the morning. I think cats don't like heat, actually. As I was just saying, is enjoying a little bit of sunlight. I think these guys don't like heat, because it's so cloudy, and immediately the sun pierced through the clouds. He went down from the termite mound. I will push forward and see whether I'll find something here. This guy was more relaxed when Tristan was live, but now I'm here. Follow me, Hosanna. I can't wait to see you as a big cat. Yes, I'm in the boundary of Chitwa and Torchwood. So you can see the poles and the power line around here on the screen. I think you can see the pole there. That's the boundary of Chitwa and Torchwood. We're a little bit far from our property, which is Juma. So I don't know whether he's going down there. Let's wait for him to. Yes, he's indeed going the right way. He's heading back to Juma. Yes, Paula. Yes, indeed, they do soar, because I've had one earlier on. Remember, they are both male and females are territorial. So the females share their territories under a male's territory. So the male, what will do, it will mark and sow around his territory that is includes the female territories. So the females will only sow around their territory, small territories inside the male's turf. Yes, indeed, they do so. And the other thing is that in my experience, I can't differentiate between a female sowing and a male sowing. It's so tricky for me. Maybe I'll need to spend more time with the leopards. Yes, while Hosanna is making his way back to Djuma, let's go to Jamie and see what she has in the meantime.
Yes, Hosanna. Yes, indeed. Come back to us on Djuma. We have missed you. I've missed you. Have I seen... No, I haven't seen Hosanna since I came back from leave. I feel like I've been here forever, but I've only been here a few days and I haven't seen him yet. So he must come back to us. What a wild... What was I trying to say? What a wild ride this morning has been. It really, truly has. We've seen all sorts of things, but what we have not yet accomplished is finding the hyena den. So, on that note, it brings us to the end of the Sunrise Safari. It's been an absolute joy this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you for this afternoon's Sunset Safari. And who knows what it holds in store. Whatever it is, I think it will be thoroughly exciting. Enjoy your day, everyone. We'll see you soon.